Life moves fast, too fast. In the rush, we forget what really matters. We forget who we are. But there are truths, soft as breath and strong as stone, that never leave us. They wait in the background, like light waiting to be let in. Today, we return to 4 of those truths, 4 things to always remember when the world forgets you, when you forget yourself. Welcome to Trandy Wisdom, where every story is deeply captivating. These aren't grand philosophies etched in stone. They are quiet reminders, seeds of clarity hidden in the soil of everyday life. When you feel lost, when your heart feels heavy, when your worth feels defined by others, these truths whisper their way back to you. In this episode, we will walk together through each truth, not to memorize them, but to feel them, to remember what you may have always known deep down, that peace doesn't come from changing your life, but from changing how you live it. Let's begin, not with answers, but with awareness. 1. How others judge you does not define your reality. In the lowlands of the Ganges Basin, where early morning fog drapes the rice fields like the breath of ancient gods, a novice monk walks barefoot along a dirt path, his alms bowl empty. The sun hasn't yet cracked the horizon, but already, in the scattered villages, eyes begin to judge. He is too young, too thin, too quiet. Some wonder if he's truly sincere. Others scoff at his shaved head and threadbare robes, seeing in him not wisdom, but weakness. And yet, he walks undisturbed, step by step, breath by breath. In this world, judgments are as natural as the rising wind. From the moment we are born, names are given, labels are stitched onto our backs, and expectations begin to crystallize. We're told what success looks like, what beauty means, what worth should feel like. The gaze of others becomes a mirror, one we desperately try to polish, afraid that what reflects back might not be enough. But over 2,500 years ago, in a forest near the ancient city of Rajagaha, the Buddha offered a radical invitation. Do not let the noise of others drown out the voice of your own awakening. A man once came to the Buddha and, in a fit of rage, hurled insults at him, words sharp as thorns, laced with contempt. The crowd held its breath. The Buddha, calm as a still pond, asked the man, "If someone offers you a gift, and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man, stunned, replied, "To the one who offered it." The Buddha smiled gently and said, "Then I do not accept your anger." That quiet response, simple yet profound, was not merely a lesson in manners. It was a revelation of inner sovereignty. The Buddha was not rejecting the man. He was rejecting the illusion that his identity could be sculpted by another's opinion. To understand this teaching in our time, we must walk the same path, not in the forests of India, but in the crowded cities of the modern world, where every action is subject to scrutiny, every moment potentially judged through the lens of others. The digital age has magnified this tendency. A single post, a comment, a photo becomes grounds for a flood of judgments, both praise and ridicule, and too often, we believe them. But Buddhism gently reminds us, perception is not truth. It is merely a reflection shaped by karma, by filters, by ignorance, and projection. The way someone sees you says far more about them than it does about you. The Dhammapada, one of the oldest collections of the Buddha's teachings, contains a verse that echoes like a bell through the centuries. People will blame you if you speak too much. They will blame you if you speak too little. and they will blame you if you say just enough. No one in the world escapes blame. In this paradox lies the invitation. If you are bound by the shifting opinions of others, your peace will forever depend on their moods, and your identity will be stitched together by borrowed threads. To live in freedom, we must unlearn this need. We must see through the mirage of external validation and return to the only ground that does not move, our own awareness. This awareness, called sati in Pali, is the foundation of mindfulness. It is not a judgmental observer. It is not concerned with performance. It simply sees. Imagine a mountain in the face of a storm. Winds tear through the trees. Rains lash the rocks. Clouds obscure the summit. But the mountain remains unmoved, solid, present, not because it resists the storm, but because it is not defined by it. Likewise, the practitioner is trained to observe judgments, not only those from others, but the far more corrosive judgments from within. We are often our harshest critics, repeating phrases we learned long ago. I'm not enough. I don't matter. I failed. These voices often wear the mask of others, but they've become internalized, woven into the very fabric of our minds. Buddhism teaches a path of liberation through mindfulness, compassion, and deep insight. To free ourselves from the tyranny of judgment, we begin by noticing it, not fighting it, not suppressing it, but seeing it, naming it, and letting it pass. In the stillness of meditation, we begin to recognize the truth. We are not our reputation. We are not the labels assigned to us. We are not even our thoughts. What we are is much deeper, much wider, a field of awareness that cannot be touched by praise or blame. It is said that when the Buddha achieved enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, Mara, the demon of illusion, did not vanish. He simply grew quiet. Mara still appears, again and again, in the form of doubt, fear, self-hatred. In modern life, Mara takes many shapes: the sting of criticism, the fear of rejection, the need to please. But the awakened one meets Mara not with anger or avoidance, but with recognition. I see you, Mara, the Buddha would say. And in that seeing, the spell is broken. So too, when someone judges you, whether unfairly or cruelly, you do not need to fight back. You do not need to prove yourself. Instead, you can return to the ground of being, take a breath, and inwardly say, I see this for what it is. What matters is not whether others understand you. What matters is whether you understand yourself. In monasteries across Southeast Asia, young monks are taught a simple chant, Sabbe Sankhara Anicca. All formations are impermanent. Judgments rise and fall. Names come and go. Opinions shift like clouds across the sky. But the sky remains. Your reality, your true reality, is not built by human words. It is revealed through inner silence. It is not constructed by applause or shame, but uncovered by presence. And it is not dependent on perfection, but rather on authenticity. This is the path of the Buddha, not to become someone the world approves of, but to become no one at all. That is, to let go of the false self constructed by fears, expectations, and opinions, and return to the deep stillness of just being. Back in the Ganges plain, the young monk receives no food today. A few villagers mutter as he passes, but he walks on, neither proud nor discouraged. The journey is long. The sun begins to rise. The birds begin to sing. And in the light of the new day, he smiles, not because the world is kind, but because his heart is free. 2. Everyone's journey is different. Therefore, be you. Do not waste your time trying to be someone else. In the mountainous trails of the Himalayas, a line of pilgrims moves steadily upward. Old men lean on wooden staffs, their knees trembling with each step. Children run ahead, laughing, barefoot on gravel. A woman walks slowly, holding a string of prayer beads, her breath in rhythm with an ancient mantra. Some climb with purpose, others with pain. And though they all share the same destination, the sacred monastery perched on a ridge above the clouds, no two paths are truly alike. Buddhism begins here, with this simple, often uncomfortable truth. There is no single road to awakening. The Buddha never claimed to offer one path for all. Instead, he offered countless teachings, metaphors, and methods, not because truth is fragmented, but because human beings are. Some respond to silence, others to chanting. Some awaken through suffering, others through serenity. In the forest monasteries of Sri Lanka, monks sit in hours of stillness beneath trees, peeling away illusion like the bark of a dying trunk. In Japanese Zen halls, the crack of a bamboo stick marks each moment of drifting thought. In the Tibetan tradition, bright mandalas are drawn and then destroyed, art and impermanence dancing together in dust. Each journey is shaped not only by will, but by karma, temperament, memory, and mystery. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha tells of the 4 kinds of horses. The first moves with just a shadow of the whip. The second needs to feel it lightly. The third requires pain to move. And the fourth learns only when it suffers deeply. The Buddha did not judge any of them. He simply pointed out that each must be trained according to its nature. But in the modern world, we are told to be the first horse, to move quickly, efficiently, successfully, without falter or flaw. Comparison has become an addiction. On social media, in school, in families, we are constantly measuring our worth against someone else's highlight reel. Someone else is always more beautiful, more peaceful, more awakened. The illusion whispers, "You should be there by now. Why are you still here?" And so, in trying to live someone else's journey, we lose our own. A young man came to the Buddha and confessed his envy. His fellow disciples seemed to meditate more deeply, understand more quickly, walk the path more purely. The Buddha looked at him kindly and said, "Do not look at others. Look at yourself. Be like the lotus that rises unstained from the mud." In those few words lies a path of liberation. The lotus, after all, does not bloom by imitating the flower next to it. It simply leans into light, grows through its own conditions, and unfolds when the moment is right. To be yourself in this world is not an act of ego. It is an act of spiritual courage. In Buddhist teachings, this is known as svabhava, your own being, your unique nature. Not the self in the egocentric sense, but the unfolding of your potential in alignment with truth. To be you is not a slogan. It is an invitation to stop running from your karma, your gifts, your pain. It is a call to stand where you are, breathe into the life you've been given, and meet it with mindfulness and compassion. Some journeys begin in trauma, some in privilege, some are marked by thunder, others by long silences, but no journey is lesser. In the Jataka tales, the Buddha tells of his many past lives, not always as a prince or sage, but sometimes as a deer, a bird, a merchant, even a thief. Through each form, wisdom slowly ripened. Each form was a chapter, not a detour. Yet how often do we call our life a detour? How often do we say, I should be someone else by now? How often do we forget that the crooked path, the winding trail, the painful pause are all part of a larger unfolding? To honor your journey means to stop apologizing for your pace. It means to listen to your own heartbeat and trust it over the noise of the world. It means to realize that awakening is not a race, and spiritual maturity is not measured by milestones, but by depth of presence. In the forest temples of Thailand, elder monks remind their students, some trees grow fast and die young. Others grow slowly and live long. Be the tree that grows in silence. This silence is not laziness. It is listening. It is the refusal to be swept up in the river of comparison. The Buddha's life is filled with quiet reminders of this principle. He taught not only kings and scholars, but outcasts, sex workers, and murderers. He did not see them as less than. He saw a different moment in their becoming. Angulimala, the infamous killer who wore a garland of fingers, was Nutandamit. When he met the Buddha, he was transformed, not because of punishment, but because someone finally saw beyond his past and offered him a path tailored to his karma. This is the heart of Buddhist compassion, not just kindness, but seeing the uniqueness of each soul's path and not forcing uniformity upon it. Therefore, be you. Not the idea of you sold by advertisements, not the version shaped by shame or desire, but the you that is already breathing, already aware, already enough. Return to that place within where you do not need permission to exist. Return to that center where your suffering is no darkness, but the compost from which wisdom grows. And do not waste your time trying to be someone else, because that someone else is already taken. Their karma is not yours. Their obstacles are not yours. Their speed is not your rhythm. Even within the Sangha, the Buddhist community, diversity of journey is embraced. Some monks awaken through solitude, others through community. Some practice in caves, others in kitchens. Enlightenment is not limited to posture or position. It is found wherever one is fully present. The way is wide, the Dharma is vast, and the river of your life does not need to flow like anyone else's. In the highlands of Ladakh, a nun in her 80s spends her mornings sweeping dust from the courtyard stones. Her back is curved like the prayer wheels she spins each dusk. She has never led a retreat, never written a book, but her smile is luminous. Her joy is quiet and unshakable. She once told a traveler, I tried for many years to be a great teacher, but then I found my practice was simply to sweep the earth with love. Perhaps that is what it means to truly live your path, not to chase greatness, but to walk with humility, rooted in your own breath, your own light, your own beginning. So today, wherever you are, whether you feel ahead or behind, broken or blooming, may this truth echo gently in your heart. Everyone's journey is different. Therefore, be you, not someday, not when you are perfect, but now, because this moment is your temple, and your path, just as it is, leads home. 3. Smile often, because smiles are contagious. In a remote valley tucked between green rice terraces and mist-soaked hills, an old woman sits on the wooden steps of her stilt house in northern Laos. Her hands are folded in her lap. Her face, weathered by time and wind, holds the softness of a late summer evening. A foreign traveler pauses to greet her. She does not speak English. He does not speak Lao. Yet when their eyes meet, she smiles, slowly, fully, without agenda or performance. The traveler smiles back, without even thinking. Something ancient and unspoken passes between them. It is in such fleeting human moments that Buddhism finds a profound teaching. A smile is more than an expression. It is a doorway to compassion, a practice of presence, and a gift of healing. The Buddha often taught not just through words, but through his very demeanor. His disciples remembered him not only for his wisdom, but for his gaze, calm, unwavering, and for his smile, gentle as spring rain. The smile of the Buddha is not a decoration. It is a fruit of insight. To smile, in Buddhist practice, is not to ignore suffering or deny reality. It is to respond to this world, with all its sorrow and impermanence, with courageous understanding. It is to say, even here, I will not close my heart. In the Vinaya Pitaka, it is said that the Buddha once met a monk deep in despair. The monk was grieving the death of his mother, overwhelmed by guilt that he had chosen the monastic path while she had died alone. The Buddha did not lecture him. He sat beside him quietly and, after some time, offered a warm, silent smile. That simple gesture, soft, human, and wordless, allowed the monk's tears to flow freely. In that space of acceptance, healing began. Modern neuroscience confirms what ancient sages intuited. A smile, even when slight, can trigger the release of neurotransmitters such as dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins. But long before brain scans and peer-reviewed journals, Buddhist practitioners already knew. A true smile arises not from force, but from peace. In meditation, teachers often instruct students to rest with a half smile, not a grin, not a mask, but a gentle upturn of the lips that reflects inner openness. This half smile is not meant for others. It is an offering to yourself, a signal to the nervous system that you are safe in this moment, that you are choosing softness over resistance. One TI meditation master once told his students, "Don't wait to be happy to smile. Smile to meet your suffering. And then, happiness may follow." But how can one smile when the world is burning, when loved ones fall ill, when the body aches, when loneliness wraps around the mind like fog? Buddhism does not ask you to pretend. It asks you to hold both joy and sorrow in the same palm, to know that just as a lotus blooms in mud, so too can light arise from darkness. The smile in Buddhism is not a denial of pain. It is an embrace of the whole of life. There is a story of a wandering monk in ancient India who stumbled into a village devastated by drought. The fields were dust. The children were hungry. The people were silent with despair. The monk did not offer sermons. He simply began each day by drawing water from the well, giving it to those in need, and smiling as he did so. Within days, others joined. The well grew lighter. The village slowly changed, not because their situation had immediately improved, but because one man's joy reminded them of their own capacity to care. That is the contagiousness of a smile, not a spreading of superficial cheer, but the awakening of dormant kindness in others. Smiles disarm. They disarm defensiveness, dissolve tension, soften judgments. In Buddhist psychology, this is rooted in the principle of metta, or loving kindness. To practice metta is to generate genuine goodwill for oneself and all beings. A smile can be the simplest form of metta, a beam of friendliness radiating from the heart through the face, like sunlight through a temple window. Yet, in a world that prizes achievement, competition, and control, smiling often can feel like a vulnerability. Many have learned to withhold joy until certain conditions are met: success, love, validation, security. But Buddhism flips this logic. It teaches that joy is not the result. It is the beginning. When we smile first, not because things are perfect, but because we are present, we make room for possibility. A smile becomes an act of trust that despite it all, something beautiful is still possible. Consider the smile of a child. It is unguarded, spontaneous, and free of calculation. Such a smile arises from natural awareness, unclouded by fear or shame. As adults, we lose this ease not because life becomes less joyful, but because our minds become more complicated. We smile less, not because we feel less, but because we think more. Buddhism invites us to return to the simplicity of being, to let the face reflect the joy that arises when the mind is not caught in past regrets or future fears. There's a saying in the Zen tradition: smile, breathe, and go slowly. This is not laziness. It is resistance against a culture of urgency and unrest. To smile in the middle of stress is not foolish. It is revolutionary. It says, I will not let the world steal my capacity to love. In Vietnamese temples, practitioners sometimes pause between activities just to breathe and smile. Even washing dishes or sweeping the floor is done with a smile. It is not about pretending to be happy. It is about bringing mindfulness to the body, giving the face permission to soften, allowing the breath to carry ease into the muscles of the jaw and brow. Such simple acts are not small. They are how compassion takes shape in daily life. They are how monks and nuns survive years of silence without losing their tenderness. They are how strangers connect on dusty roads. They are how the Dharma travels, not only in scriptures, but in subtle gestures passed between hearts. In the vast plains of Mongolia, a nomadic family prepares tea for a traveler. There are no words exchanged, only the quiet clink of metal cups, the pouring of warm milk, and a shared smile across the fire. In that brief communion, no one is trying to impress or convert. They are simply present. That presence, flavored with warmth, is a form of spiritual hospitality, older than temples. A smile, when authentic, says, you are welcome here. You are seen. You are not alone. And so, to smile often is not just a practice for your own well-being. It is a gift you offer to others, a mirror in which they remember their own goodness. Even when your heart is heavy, even when the world seems fractured, even when you doubt yourself, if you can smile, even just a little, you are keeping the lamp of compassion lit. And that light travels farther than you know. It crosses language, culture, distance. It ripples outward in ways you may never witness. It may soften the anger of a stranger, comfort a grieving soul, or plant the seed of kindness in a passing child. So smile, not because everything is okay, but because this moment deserves your presence. Smile, not to impress, but to connect. Smile, not as a mask, but as a bridge. And in doing so, you become what the Buddha called Kalyanamitta, a spiritual friend, lighting the way for others with something as simple, as radical, as deeply human as a smile. 4. What you give to this world, no matter good or bad, will always come back to you. A lone fisherman cast his net into the shallow waters of the Irrawaddy River at dawn. Mist curls above the surface like breath from the earth, and the rhythmic splash of his weighted net sends ripples outward, expanding in every direction. He waits, silent, patient. The water does not respond immediately, but eventually, what he cast out returns to him, sometimes in bounty, sometimes in emptiness, and always, the river remembers. This image of the net, the ripple, the return, is the perfect metaphor for karma, the central principle of ethical cause and effect in Buddhist teaching. It is not a cosmic punishment system, not a divine scoreboard tallying sins and virtues. It is more intimate than that, more immediate. It is the truth that everything we do, say, and think plants seeds, and those seeds, in time, bear fruit. The Buddha once said, just as the shadow never leaves the body, so too will karma never leave the doer. This is not a threat. It is a mirror, a map, a reminder that we are not separate from the world we shape with our intentions. To give anything, kindness, cruelty, generosity, violence, is not just to affect others. It is to affect yourself. It is to carve grooves in the mind, to train the heart in habits that will either liberate or imprison you. In the dusty plains near Sarnath, where the Buddha gave his first teaching, ancient stone carvings show scenes of kings and beggars alike, offering alms, tending animals, planting trees. These were not acts of charity. They were acts of understanding. They were ways of participating in a world where every gesture matters. The world is not neutral. It reflects. A harsh word, though it vanishes into air, often leaves an echo in the one who speaks it. A lie, even when hidden, creates a subtle trembling in the mind, a distance between what is and what is claimed. A kind word, by contrast, may fall on deaf ears, yet still leave the speaker lighter, more open. This is not superstition. It is psychology. And it is also spiritual physics. The law of karma is not about reward. It is about resonance. In a village in Sri Lanka, a young boy feeds stray dogs with leftover rice each evening. His parents are poor. They scold him for wasting food, but the boy does it anyway. Not for recognition, not for merit, but because something inside him aches when the animals whimper. Years later, when he becomes a monk, he finds that same instinct to relieve suffering has grown into a powerful current of compassion that shapes every sermon he offers. That is karma. In northern India, a woman who once stole bread to feed her children now spends her days teaching others how to grow food sustainably, using every ounce of her past shame as fuel for dignity. That is also karma, because karma is not static. It evolves. It is not fate. It is invitation. At every moment, we are shaping what we become through what we offer. The Buddha never demanded perfection. He simply asked for presence, intention, awareness. Cease to do evil, do good, purify the mind. This is the teaching of all the Buddhas, he said. And that purification begins by noticing what we give, what we offer to this moment, this breath, this conversation. Do we offer defensiveness or understanding, judgment or space, silence or listening? Every choice creates a residue, subtle or gross. Every act becomes a part of our psychological landscape, part of the environment we walk through tomorrow. Even thoughts matter, even the unspoken, because the mind is the seedbed of all actions. And thoughts, too, have momentum. In the Majjhima Nikaya, the Buddha compares the mind to a field. If you sow seeds of anger, bitterness, craving, then when the rains come, those will bloom. But if you plant patience, joy, mindfulness, then even in the drought, something resilient will rise. A farmer in rural Myanmar once told a traveler, "When I was young, I hit the oxes that didn't pull. Now that I'm old, the pain in my back returns each winter in the same spot." He smiled, not with bitterness, but with the clarity of someone who has seen how life folds in on itself, how the past walks beside us, not as a ghost, but as a teacher. Karma also teaches that our actions are never lost. The smallest generosity, a smile, a gentle pause, a hand offered in silence, can become the very support someone needs to survive. And often, what we offer in one life does not return in the same form. Sometimes it echoes into generations. Sometimes it becomes the foundation for future lives, for unknown transformations. But here lies the subtle beauty of Buddhist ethics. You don't give in order to receive. You give because giving frees you. In a monastery in Cambodia, young monks sweep the temple grounds each morning before dawn, not because it is dirty, but because the act of sweeping clears the mind. It is said that when they sweep leaves, they are sweeping away self-importance, resentment, pride. They do not expect reward. The act is the reward. The intention becomes its own return. This is the paradox of karma. The more purely we give, the less we need return. And yet, in that purity, return inevitably comes. Not always in form, but in freedom, in clarity, in peace. And it applies just as deeply to harmful actions. When we harm others, we fracture not only their safety, but our own wholeness. To betray another is to split the mind, to lose the capacity to rest fully in oneself. The karmic consequence is not only punishment, it is the loss of ease, of harmony. The mind becomes haunted, not by divine wrath, but by its own dissonance. That is why Buddhism does not merely prescribe good behavior. It encourages insight, transformation. Remorse, when sincere, is a form of purification. Confession, when rooted in humility, is a doorway back to wholeness. We are not trapped in our past, but we are shaped by it until we choose otherwise. And that choice is available always. It is available when you pause before responding with anger. It is available when you give without needing to be noticed. It is available when you plant seeds of kindness, even in barren soil. In a Tibetan teaching, a Lama once said, "You may not see the flower bloom in your lifetime, but if you plant it, others will sit in its shade." That is the essence of karma. What you give will shape this world, whether you live to see its fruits or not. So give beauty, give truth, give silence when words would harm, give presence when someone is breaking, give forgiveness even when it is hard, give light, not because the world will pay you back, but because in giving light, you become the lamp. And in the quiet hours of the night, when the mind wonders if it mattered, know this: nothing is ever lost. The universe is listening, not with judgment, but with remembrance. And one day, in a way you least expect, what you've given will return. Perhaps as peace, perhaps as joy, perhaps as the quiet knowing that you lived with an open hand. Because in this world, what you give, no matter good or bad, will always come back to you. If these reminders spoke to something true in you, pause for a moment and let them settle. And if you'd like to keep walking this path of wisdom and reflection, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who might need it. Thank you for being here. This is Trandy Wisdom, where every story is deeply captivating